Hi there, Sam Sorbo for The Accidental Homeschooler. I want to talk today about deadlines and timers. Deadlines and timers. So deadlines can be really useful as long as you adhere to them also. So if you set a deadline and you say this is going to be the consequence if you meet the deadline or if you don't meet the deadline, you have to adhere to that. So be very careful with the commitments that you make. I remember one time I told my son if he did X, then we weren't going to go to the meeting that we had planned where I was going to get to hang out with my girlfriends and he was going to get a play date. And he did the thing that I told him he couldn't do. And so I couldn't go hang out with my girlfriends because I had to punish him for the play date. And in fact, they got mad at me because because I had to cancel. So you have to be careful with what kinds of consequences you are putting forward because you have to keep them, okay? The moment that you don't keep the consequence, the moment that you just inadvertently or on purpose just say, oh, never mind, I didn't mean it, you lose credibility. So you have to be careful about that. So that's deadlines. Timers are really useful, and you've got your iPhone. You can set a timer on your iPhone, or you can just go and get one of those kitchen timers. And kids like the idea that there is a limited amount of time. So children live in a timeless sort of world because they haven't been involved with time for very long. And so to them, everything is sort of never ending. Do you remember summers used to be never ending? That's because you didn't have enough of a history in your memory to attach to the times of things. Now, as adults, of course, time is, we're always pressured for time, and we want time to, we want to put the brakes on and slow time down. But for kids, time is this very long, nebulous thing. They don't know 15 minutes, 20 minutes, next day, next week, next month. It's all sort of nebulous. And as they grow, obviously, it gets a little bit more, it comes more and more into focus. So for them, if you say 15 minutes, they don't necessarily have, I'm talking about younger kids, they don't necessarily have a good concept of what 15 minutes is. But the more that you work with them on that, the more they will have. And so if you say to them, we're going to clean up for 15 minutes, and you set a timer for 15 minutes and it's ticking away and they can see the timer, then they will get this idea, and then you'll have their attention for that 15 minutes because at some point it's going to click for them. They're going to go, oh, just 15 minutes? By the way, I do this for myself I really don't like washing dishes, but I say to myself, let me just do 3 dishes, and then of course pretty soon I'm doing the whole bunch of it. So it's this idea of a delimitation that makes it much more palpable, much more manageable. And so you say, we're only going to do, so my kids study Latin, and they really don't like it. I like it, but they don't. And so I say to them, you just got 1 hour. You have to sit and you have to do Latin for 1 hour. You may not be distracted during that hour, so it's got to be a committed hour, but it's only an hour, okay? And you can do that with anything, piano, any kind of study. And so that's sort of the trade-off. So you're setting a deadline with the timer. And then you have the other deadlines. So my oldest son, when he was growing up, I wanted him to make sure that he finished his work. And so I said, if you finish your work by a certain time, then you get a reward. And so the deadline comes with a reward, but it also comes with a consequence. If you don't finish by a certain time, not that particular deadline, but other ones, right? If you don't finish by a certain time, then either you don't get the reward, or there might be a different consequence. Like then, if you don't finish your homework by 5 p.m., there will be no movie tonight because you will be doing homework. I remember when there was something due, and it was a pretty harsh consequence, but my son didn't get to go out to the movies when the family went out to the movies. And I wasn't going to the movie anyway, so that was an easy consequence for me to give. No, he stays home with me and finishes the work that he has to do. So kids like to be inspired, and they like to be motivated, and so you can use deadlines and timers to motivate. I hope that makes sense. I'm Sam Sorbo. You can get my book, They're Your Kids, at samsorbo.com. You can also get this one, which I just love this one because it teaches godly virtues and it brings the family together. This is a family book to do together. And certainly during our Corona times, this is a book to do together as a family because we are all brought so much closer together during this unsettling time. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe. Tell your friends to come see my videos. Homeschooling is not as hard as you think, and it's so much more rewarding than you ever dreamed. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.